Superman and Supergirl and Super Daughter and Superboy. Episode 8, it's raining Superman and women. It's Superman and women. And it's your boy Icon with another DC animated television review for you. Going over that My Adventures with Superman. 2 episodes to go from My Adventures with Superman after this one. Before we get started, hit that notification bell, like it or subscribe. Check out my other reviews, and let's get started because there are more kids. After the Mxyzptlk situation, Jonathan from the future and Laura from the future, the children of both Clark, Lois and Clark, they come to the present, and it's like Laura looks exactly like they could have done something to make her slightly different. Like her haircut is exactly the same, her face is like, I understand that's her daughter, but I'm like, they could have did something different with the hair. But she's basically Lois Lane, like she's Lois with superpowers. But she's here, Jonathan's here, and then Lois and Clark assume like that's the Jonathan from before. Then he's like, what are you talking about? Because since they changed, his future, the timeline changed and he turned into like a new person with a new life and a new situation, blah blah blah. So I mean, we saw the scene where he came back to the future and then Lex like ran up on him. I guess eventually like time caught up with him and then like his memories got wiped or whatever. Apparently like they ended up having 2 kids and neither and Clark still died. He wasn't there because because Jonathan was pissed. First of all, when he showed up the first time, everybody was calling him John. And then now when they saw him the second time, they were calling him John, and then he got mad and he was like, call me Jonathan. And I'm like, what's the goddamn difference? Like, he was really upset about that, like being called John versus Jonathan. They were just like, oh, you're back. He's like, I've never been here before. And then she was like, Lois was like, no, you came here the first time and then you helped us, save the future. Then he was like, then why is the future complete shit? And they were just like, well, when you came the first time, you were alone. So now we have a daughter. And then she was like, wait, I wasn't alive like the first time. She was like, was I a mistake? And I'm like, technically everybody's a mistake. But Laura said that they were here to kill Lex Luthor. Jonathan was being a complete ass to everybody. He even said that in the future, he had to learn how to use his powers on his own. He didn't get training from Superman. He didn't get training from Lois, apparently. Lois, who's still there in the future because she's General Lang. And then he said that nobody helped me. I had to learn everything by myself. And then Kara overheard that, and it made her feel some kind of way because with the first John, she was the one that raised him and taught him everything. But apparently something happened to her too, and she died, and then nobody had a chance to raise Jonathan. My whole thing is, if Clark, like, if Jonathan's whole thing is like, oh, nobody raised me to use my powers, and then he was like, you weren't there for me, Dad. If that's the case, at what point did they actually have Laura? Because unless they gave birth to Jonathan, and then while Lois was pregnant with Laura, that's when Clark died, and then he never actually met her. I'm just like, the timeline spacing for that is cutting it kind of close, but apparently he wasn't there for either one of them. Jonathan and Clark, they're getting into it, and Jonathan's like, screw you, I'm going to do this myself. Laura's talking to Lois, and then she was just like, why are you here? And then she said that General Lane sent us here, to kill Lex Luthor. And she's like, you're here to commit murder. And then she was like, why would my dad do that? And then she was like, your dad? She's like, no, like, you're the one that told us to. She's like, in the future, you're General Lang. And then Lois and Clark end up having a conversation, talk about how bad parents they are. And then while they're having a conversation, Jonathan went somewhere, God knows, and then Laura said, fuck that, and then she went to Metropolis to go kill Lex. Lex, he's in his laboratory, he's with Slade, and then while he's doing his, Lex Luthor thing on the computer, we get a surprise visit from the Wall. Like, Amanda Waller is back, and she's here to see what Lex is up to. Lex is showing her, like all of his inventions and everything, and then that's when Slade dropped the dime on him, and then because Slade's basically working for Waller at this point, but then he was just like, tell them about the Eradicator. The reason why Laura and Jonathan want to kill him, because they said that in the future, Lex creates some bio robots called the Eradicators, and they take over and wipe out humanity, so they want to kill him now so he doesn't have the chance to do that. And then when Lex showed Amanda Waller the Eradicator, Amanda was just like, okay, I've seen enough, shut it down. And then he was like, no, but my work. She was like, fuck your work, shut it down. And then Laura showed up. She tried to kill Lex. Lex hit the panic button, and then he let the Eradicator out of the cage. So now the Eradicator is going crazy, like, killing people, and, like Laura got her ass whooped. Jonathan and the rest of the gang, they all show up to try to stop him. Jonathan gets his ass whooped. Supergirl get her ass whooped, but then Supergirl came back because Clark couldn't do anything to help. Lois couldn't do anything to help. Jimmy couldn't do anything to help. So the kids were getting their ass beat, and then that's when Supergirl tapped into like her inner strength, and then she did everything she could. She actually like did a number on the Eradicator, like she ripped his arms off, like she busted him in the face. But they said that the Eradicator's whole thing is like he adapts. So when he adapted to Supergirl, he knew that if he tried to take aim at the kids, Supergirl would be vulnerable. So when he tried to use like heat vision, because the Eradicator, although it's a robot, it does have Superman DNA in it. That's how it can like rejuvenate itself. He tried to use like heat vision to kill the kids, and then Supergirl jumped in the way, and then she got knocked out, and now she in a coma and she ain't waking up. Laura woke up. She got her ass whooped, but she woke up. And then eventually Jonathan got mad, and then he started fighting the Eradicator. And then again, the Eradicator's smart. While he was fighting Jonathan, the Eradicator noticed that Jonathan had a time carrier on his wrist. So when Jonathan went to punch him, the Eradicator grabbed the time carrier off his wrist, and then he was like, "You lose, bitch," and then he hit the button, and he ended up going somewhere in time. So now the Eradicator has a time machine, and he's like traveling out through the course of time. Amanda Waller shows up. She's like, "Who do I arrest?" Everybody pointed to Lex, and then she arrested Lex Luthor. So to an extent, they did save the future from Lex Luthor, because now that Lex is being locked up by the Pentagon and by Amanda Waller, he's not going to be able to unleash the Eradicators, plural, on the world. But the problem is there's one Eradicator that's actually like flowing through time right now. And then, after that, Clark was getting visions throughout the entire episode of like fire and brimstone. Then he was getting visions about the Fortress of Solitude. And then he told Lois, he was just like, I think I need to go to the Fortress of Solitude to get my powers back. He was like, I need you to stay here with the kids. And then she was like, why would I stay here with the kids? She's like, we all know that I fail them in the future. But my whole thing is, why would Clark not go? See, and because Supergirl got knocked out and she's in a coma, if Clark's whole thing is the Fortress of Solitude can get my powers back, why would you not bring Kara with you to rejuvenate her and wake her up out of the coma? And why would you not bring the kids with you? And then I was like, my whole thing was like, how the hell are you going to get to the Fortress of Solitude if the kids don't go? But then that weird caveman, bizarro Superman, he showed up. He showed up late to the party. He was just like, oh, I'm late. I couldn't save the day. And then Clark ended up telling him to bring him to the Fortress of Solitude. If you could have the bizarro Superman bring you to the Fortress of Solitude, you could have had Supergirl, the kids, bring you to the Fortress of Solitude. It didn't make sense to not bring Supergirl or the kids and let the Bizarro take you. But then when he gets to the Fortress of Solitude, him and the Bizarro go in the Fortress of Solitude, and then all of a sudden the machines, like the Kalexes, like they wake up, they take over the mind of the Bizarro Superman, and then the Bizarro knocks out Art Clark, and he's like dropped on the ground. And I feel like the reason why they did that was because since they don't detect the Kryptonian like powers within Clark, I guess they thought he was a regular human being. Clark's knocked out on the ground, Supergirl's in a coma, like Laura nursing her wounds, and Jonathan's dealing with the guilt of letting the Eradicator loose throughout space and time. The wall is back. That's good. That's how the episode ended, and thank you for tuning in. So with 2 episodes ago, like I feel like the show took too long to get into high gear. It's like now that we're actually getting into high gear and we're doing some really cool shit, the show's almost over. I'm into everything that's happening now with 2 episodes to go, but share your questions, comments, and concerns, because the whole thing about the Eradicator going through time, that's going to be a thing. Like Superman getting his powers back, that's going to be a thing. Like who knows, like once they save the day and they stop the Eradicator and then Laura and Jonathan come home, maybe they'll come back in season 3 and then they'll have 5 kids at this point. But share your questions, comments, and concerns down below. Let me know what you thought about this particular episode of My Adventures of Superman, and we will continue to talk about it. Check me out all over social media, all over X, Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok, where you can leave those questions, comments, and concerns. And I got Batman Cape Crusader on my channel that I'm about to review for you guys. I said the Lanterns is coming, and we're still doing X-Men 97 for all you Marvel fans. Spider-Man's out there. I'm going to do Spider-Man eventually, and I still got to get to He-Man. I'm working on it. So until next time, guys, for some more Superman action, I'll bump it away as always. Until then, we're out this. Be out!